All right, welcome to part 2 of the FlutterFlow Firestore tutorial. In this part, we're going to go over how to create records, update records, delete. We'll talk a little bit about lists, how to support photo upload, and all of that stuff. All right, so in part 1, we showed you how to define your schema and your different collections and be able to reference the different fields in the UI and make the queries here and connect your UI to Firestore. So let's see what we have already in terms of the app. So we have 2 posts here that we've just manually added, right? We don't have a add post functionality yet. And just to show you that this is not just the same image loading, let's get another GIF here. Yeah, let's use this one. So if I update this GIF URL, it also updates here in the app. Right, so really what you want to be able to do is add a upload or add post button here. So let's start with that. The way we're going to do that is using a floating action button. And let's give it an icon, a plus icon here, or add. Let's make the icon white. All right, so when this icon is pressed, we want to go to a create new post page. So we need to create that. We'll do an add post. We'll create a new page called add post. And let's copy over the app bar here. Call it add GIF. And really it should be very simple, right? It should have the GIF URL. We already know who the user is, so that's basically it. We just need a text field and a button that's like says done. All right, here's the text field. Give it a little bit of padding, left and right, also top. Yeah, enter GIF URL, and we can add like a done button here, an icon button. We can say done. Okay, so now we need to make sure that when this button is pressed, we navigate to add post. Let's do that real quickly. Go to actions here on the floating action button. On top, navigate to page, add post. Easy, allow back navigation. We will make it so that when the user taps this check mark here, we'll do a backend call, backend call. It will be a create record. And it's gonna be a post record that's created. So we need to set the different fields we want to set here. So these are all the fields you can possibly set here. So for the GIF URL, we want this to come from a text field, right? Let's enter GIF URL text field. The user, we want that to be the authenticated user, the user record reference, right? And created that, we want that to be automatic, like the current time. Right? So there's a global properties for that, the current timestamp. And that's it. So now when the user enters a GIF URL here and hits the check mark, it should navigate back. So that's one thing that's missing. Okay, so that's the first action, should create the record. And then the second action, it should navigate back to the previous page. That's basically it. So that's how you do a create record. Now if we run this app, it should create a record and we'll see it pop up here. And because we are sorting here, ordered by timestamp, created that timestamp, when we add it, it should show up here at the top. Cool, I'm going to push this to GitHub and run it locally. All right, so we've loaded, we've pulled from GitHub and we're running it now. Okay, we have our floating action button. Right now there's still only 2 posts and the GIFs will load here. So let's create another post. Enter GIF URL. Let's grab another one here. We'll just pick one of the trending ones here. Let's go with this. Paste. Okay. And now you see there's already a 3rd post that's created. Yeah, there you have it. And you know, because we have the navigation, actually also just goes back. If you want the arrow to show up back here, you know, because we're doing navigation, the drag from the left side will also work. Hard to do with the mouse here. But if you wanted the back button to show up automatically, we could have also done that by selecting the app bar and turning on show default back button. That would make it so that the back button will show up here. Cool, so we've already added the create feature. Now let's look at how to update an existing record. And for that, we're going to take a look at the profile page here. So we'll do 2 things here actually. We'll do a query with a filter so that we get a grid view of all the posts we've made, this user account has made. We'll drag and drop a grid view here, give it a little bit of padding at the top. And this should be the user's post, the current user's posts. That should be very easy to do. We do create a backend request, query collection, posts, and now we want to definitely order by. So in this case, actually, we just want to filter. Right, that's the main thing. We want to filter for posts we made. So filter by user, and the user is equal to, from variable, the current authenticated user's reference. So this means grab all the posts where the user is the same as the current logged in user. So we'll only see posts we made here, which is what we want. Save. Okay, so now that's what the data will load here. Just need to drop an image in here. So we get that to show up. And this image should get the value from the post record URL. And there you have it. So instead of maybe 3 count, we can do 2. Set this to 2. What happened there was, I think there was an error when the count was set to 0. So it automatically undid it. So I had to, that's a small bug on our side that we'll fix. All right, so this will show me posts that I've made. It will have just some fixed FlutterFlow icon right now, the FlutterFlow logo, and the email. We want this to ideally be the user's photo URL, user's profile picture, and maybe the username instead of an email. So let's make sure that the username field exists here. Username, let's make it a string. So we want that to be username instead of email, and then edit profile will let us edit their username and their profile picture. All right, so we need to have an edit profile page. Let's create that edit profile page. I'm going to copy the app bar from there. I'll call this edit profile. And in here, so we need a couple of things. We need the profile picture URL, right? We also need the username, and maybe that should be fine. I don't think we need anything else, just to keep it simple. So we'll have a column. just align it to the center here. So those in the middle. We'll have a circle image. This should be the user's profile picture. Just a little bit of padding here at the top. And we'll also have a text field. And the whole column can have some padding on the left and right. So this will be the username. We can also add display name. Might as well, just to demonstrate multiple fields changing. Display name, username. So that should be the hint text. The initial value should come from the current user's record, right? So now we want to modify the user record. We have the access to the authenticated user, but we need to make sure that these elements have access to the user record. So one thing we'll do is create a document from reference kind of query here. Get the user document for the currently authenticated user. So now all of the stuff in this page will have access to the user variable, user's record. So this should be the username initially, and this should be the display name. Display name. All right, so we'll initially show the username and the display name, and when you hit OK, it should have an action. So it still has, when we copy pasted it, it copied the action from earlier, but we actually don't want to do a create record here. We want to do an update record. So we haven't done the profile picture. So let's do that first, actually. So when this is tapped, we want this to select the profile picture. So right now, this should come from the current user's photo URL. But on tap, we want to do a camera upload photo call. So what this means is it will actually request the user to select a photo or take a photo using their phone, and it will actually upload it. Here we have the username, display name. Now when we hit done here, we can make sure that we can update all the things that we need from here. So update record source. So we want to update the current user record, right? We want to set a couple of different fields. So we want the username to be from text field, the display name. So this is the display name. We want it to be a display name text field. Photo URL, it should come from the uploaded photo, right? This will automatically pull from the uploaded photo here. The username should come from the username text field. And that's it. It was as simple as that. On top, now the first action will update the user record, then it will navigate back to the profile page. Well, one thing we need to do here is update this so that this is, instead of the authenticated user, we'll do the same thing. We load the user document here, get the user document that matches the currently authenticated user's record reference. And now instead of this being the authenticated user's email, we can make this the user records display name. And this should be the user records photo URL. There you have it. Edit profile needs to go to the edit profile page. I think we've set that up correctly. We're gonna test it. This will come here where it lets you choose the image, the profile picture, username, display name. Let's actually add a small camera icon to kind of make this fancy here. We're going to wrap this widget with a stack, which allows us to add multiple layers on that same in this same space here on the stack. So we'll do an icon, paste icon here. Now the image is currently aligned at the left. We can center it here. We've centered the image. The icon itself needs to be centered here. We just need to give the stack some width and height. Let's give it just 100% of this width available. And for the height, let's just make it 100 pixels, 150 pixels. And now this will actually align properly. If the stack doesn't have a size, then it's not going to let you move it around here. So you want the icon to be a bit bigger, maybe 40, maybe a bit bigger, 45. Center it just in the middle. I think it might be a bit more precise to use this align widget, 200, and we want the camera icon. Maybe font awesome. Yeah, that looks nice. Make the color white and a little translucent. There you go. I'm going to undo that and just shift it vertically here. Shift it a little lower. All right, let's try this. Let's push it to GitHub and see how it looks. All right, here we go. So the profile page should look very different here. Still have 3 posts. The GIFs are loading. Go to the profile page. All right, so the posts I made are showing up here. There should be 3 of them. But my profile photo is not showing up. The text is not showing up. So we don't, I believe we have a way of setting the default values here. All right, so just the default value is going to be empty. We don't have the feature that lets you set the default value when it's empty. To quickly show you, now we should be able to edit it. And so we get some values to show up here. So username, I'll just pick Able. And so there's no image. So, oh, there we go. Allow GIF share to access photos. Yes. There we go, photos. Okay, so uploaded it. If I hit OK, now the photo shows up here. It doesn't always show up here, the username and display name. I think that's because by the time the text field is already created, by the time the value loads, the text field has already been created. So the way to resolve that is here in edit profile to pass in a parameter. Let me explain what I mean. So in edit profile page here, what we did was have this document from reference. So we can remove this now. And instead we'll get the reference as a parameter that's passed into this page. So we'll call it the user record. And it's going to be a record, which is the user's record. And now we just need to make sure that on profile page, when edit profile is tapped, we can pass in a parameter. So this pass parameter shows up only when there's a parameter. Let's get the user's record and pass it to the edit profile page. What that does is on edit profile page, it already has the user's record loaded, so it doesn't have to wait to load it here. So this set from variable user record username and set from variable user record display name. Now these values are going to load properly. This should also come from the user record photo URL. Yeah, and that's it. That will fix the small issues we've seen here, where when you go to edit profile page, it doesn't have the current display name and username. Cool. So that's how you update a record. And yeah, let's do one more thing. Let's also add the ability to like posts, potentially posts that other users made. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a different account. So I'll add a logout option here, home. I'll add a logout icon here so we can log out and then log in as a different user. Log out. And on top, this should do a logout. So it logs the current user out. And I'll basically create a different user. And in order to add to like something, you can just make it quick. And so you probably one quick way to do it is just have an action on the image. On double tap, we want to add it to something we've liked in our collection. So one way to do that is to go to posts here, the post collection, and add a field called liked by. And this is going to be a list of users. So who are the users that have liked this post? So you can have a list of these document references, and basically when you double tap here, it should add your user reference to the post. Right, so this is a little tricky. If every post had a liked by field, which could be, 100 or more references, as people come in and like it, it will add that reference into this list. So let's actually implement that here. All right, so let's add an action. On double tap, one simple way to do it is just update the database and update that reference for this post by adding the current user to the liked by field. So we'll do a backend call update record. We're going to update the posts record, right? We're going to take that reference and we're going to update it. We will change the liked by field. We're going to add to this list the current authenticated. So we actually will use the current authenticated user's user record reference. All right, so that's it. It's a bit tricky, so I'll just run through it again quickly. What we have is we have this current user record that's logged in. That's accessible through authenticated user. And what we want is to take a single post and update the liked by field and add the current authenticated user's reference to this list. So the more users are liking it, the larger this list would grow, and we'll see it show up here. And the way you do that is by on double tap. So when we're setting the fields is to do an add to list update on that list field. All right, that's it. So of course we want to be able to see the posts that we've liked. So let's go back to the profile page and let's make this a little bit fancier. So let's add a tab bar, and I'm gonna cut this grid view, add a tab bar. Okay, we have a tab bar here. Give it a little bit of padding at the top. You only want the current users' pictures and the ones they've liked. We don't need a third tab. Here, let's replace this with an icon. Person. So this is going to be the user's photos. We don't need a label. Stuff. That makes no sense. All right, and here this will be, there's no label. We'll use likes, photos, something like that. Yeah, this is maybe stuff they've liked. There we go. Okay, that color is fine. And we'll delete this tab view value and we'll paste the grid in here. So this is gonna be the alignment. Let's make sure it's aligned all the way to the top. Alright, it has some padding. We don't need the padding anymore. It needs to be aligned to the top. So we have a grid view here which loads the images from the post collection, where it's the current user's post. And for this other tab, so I'll copy this grid view. I'll go to this second tab here and paste it in here. But for this one, we need to do a different query. Right, so in this case, we don't want the current user's posts. We want to do a different filter. We want the post which is liked by the current user. So liked by contains the current user. So it's as simple as that. You just select liked by array contains. Then you select the user record. You hit save. Now what this will do is it will show you posts that you've liked, and the way you'd like a post, as we did it earlier, is by just double tapping on an image, and that means it will show up here in the second tab. And that's it. Let's see. So we have an issue here. Anytime you have something configured incorrectly, this issues thing will light up. So looks like we have a reference for a database update action. All right, so this update action, right, because what happened is we switched from loading the user record on this page to passing it in as a parameter, and we forgot to update the values here. So the source is going to be the user record. We're going to update that reference. Going to set all these things. I think all of them still are valid. There we go. And the issues are gone. So we're ready to give this a go. I'm going to push to GitHub and run it locally. Okay, should be running soon. Here we go. All right, so one thing I'll do now is I'll actually log out, because right now, if you look at the profile page, I'm the currently logged in user, says able. I'm going to log out here and create another test account. Test at FlutterFlow.io, test. We have a very secure password here. Sign up. All right. So we still see all of the posts made by the other user account. We don't have anything here. These are just dummy photos that are created when there's no data that's loading. So one thing we'll do is we'll actually just upload another GIF URL. Yeah. All right, let's get Jalen Brown. Going to paste it in here. There we go. Enter. Now, as you can see, the new GIF shows up, and it's by a different user, test.flutterflow.io. I go to my profile page. Here it is. If I wanted to like some of the other photos, I can double tap, and they'll automatically like it. So if I go in here, I should see. Okay, it's not showing up. Let's see what's going on in here. So we have the different posts. Liked by is empty. Okay, so the liked by is not being set properly. Let's investigate that. Double tap. All right, for some reason, this wasn't being set. Double tap, it should update the post. Yeah, on double tap, update record. Liked by, at list, authenticated user, user record reference. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. That should work this time. Don't know what happened there. Alright, for some reason this was missing. We actually added the like by field. I think we forgot to properly set it earlier. Okay, it should be running soon. Okay, here we go. So all the posts are showing up. Let's try liking this GIF one more time. Here we go. So now it adds a like by value. Now if I double tap it, it's actually not going to add it again. It won't keep adding the same value. But we also like this one. So updates it here. So if I go to my profile page now, here's the post I made, and here are the posts I liked. And it was that easy. All right, that's all we have for this tutorial, and thanks for watching.